My name is Ogbo, Awoke, and we are continuing our conversation on the 7 employee retention hacks. Already by now you know that retaining your good hands is a very important competitive strategy because you do not want other people poaching your best people. But then people leave when they don't see their future in your business. So you want to really make sure that when people come in, that they are really part of your company and that they can see a future for them in your business. When they stop seeing the future, their future in your business is only a matter of time, and then they leave. And that brings us to employee retention hack number 3, and that is ownership. That is ownership. Have you structured your company, and especially if you're a family business, this is particularly important. Have you structured your company in such a way that people feel a sense of ownership in the vision and in the mission and in the promise, in the brand of the company? I remember in those days, people working for certain organizations, like Schlumberger, Shell, and all that, would wear their identity badge with pride. People who work with certain organizations wear their identity card with pride, with a sense of ownership of the vision. And so how do you make your employees, not just employees, but owners and partners? Because an owner will work in the business like it is his or her own. A partner will work in the business because he has a stake. Now that brings in that word, that very important word, stake. How do you give your employees a stake in your business? Because think about it sincerely. Nobody feels happy, coming to work knowing that he is slaving, forgive that word, just slaving for you and your family, while he or she is not getting anything out of it. All she or he is getting from the business is just that monthly pittance, that you pay as salary. Nobody feels happy doing that. So this is something for you, your HR, your management team, to sit down together and say, how can we make people owners and partners, not just workers, not just employees in the business? Because if I have a stake in your business, if I have ownership, then I know that whatever I'm building for you, I'm also building my future there. One of the things that I really liked, when I worked with Chevron, that they did, is that when you've worked in Chevron as of that time, for 5 years, you were given a grant that allowed you to build your own house. So if I work in your organization, I would be very delighted that after a certain level of contribution, I can own my own house, I can own my transportation, I can educate my children, I can go on vacation just the way you do. I know a couple of school owners who during the holiday, they take their families on vacation to Dubai, to Europe, to America, but they haven't paid the teachers. That is terrible. That is a recipe for high employee turnover. So you are traveling, you are able to travel with your own family, but you haven't paid the salaries of the teachers. That is terrible. You don't want that in your organization. So if you want to build a company that will last for 100, 200, 300 years, that is never a way to treat employees. So give them a sense of ownership in the vision, in the journey, and in the promise of the company. And when you do that, you will see your employee retention go up. And I'll see you this time tomorrow again for employee retention hack number 4. My name is Ogbo, Awoke, Most businesses struggle to grow because they have hit the limitation of their leadership. I transform businesses by helping the leaders reshape the way they think about themselves and about their work. And part of this leadership challenge is employee retention. I think that many organizations underrate the importance of employee retention as a very, very strong competitive factor. When I did my executive coaching certification, I was very interested in finding out why some companies in some parts of the world lasted for as long as 1,400 years, like some companies in Japan have been in operation for more than 1,400 years. There are other companies in Europe that have been in operation for 600, 800, 1,000 years. And I was curious as to why that is the case, because most businesses hardly make it beyond 10 or 20 or at most 40, 50 years. Typically, when the founder of the business dies, that business dies as well with the founder and promoter. So one of the things I discovered was really how important culture, the organizational culture, is in the sustainability of business. And related to organizational culture is the issue of talent. Having employees work with your organization for a prolonged length of time. You see, if people keep coming and going, they keep working, they come in, they stay with you for 2 months, for 3 months, for 6 months, for 9 months, for 1 year, and they go, and you keep changing employees that way, that would not mean well for a business that wants to be in operation for 100, 200, 300 years. And so a key decision for leadership is, how do we create organization where people can work with us long enough for them to contribute their best, and then for the organization also to do them well over that period of time? How do we create an organization where people would like to come in and become part of a community, become part of a big mission, become part of, a transgenerational vision? That is the conversation around employee retention. I once worked for a client whom every time I went there to consult for them, which was approximately every 3 months, I saw new faces in the management, and I saw new faces, totally new faces in the organization. Every time I went there were different people. So the turnover rate was just a little bit unusual. So I called the CEO and I said to him, the impact of this high turnover in your company is that it makes you a perpetual startup, because that's what it is. You're a perpetual startup, and it's going to be very difficult to transform or to grow a business with such high employee turnover. So over the next 7 days, I am going to be sharing with you 7 employee retention hacks. These employee retention hacks are things I have found really, really phenomenal and very, very useful in the past more than a decade of consulting with many organizations within and outside the country. So I have found some 7 powerful hacks. Some of them applied in the multinationals that I worked with, because I think that multinationals like Shell that I worked with, and also Chevron that I worked with, do this really very well, because you find in these organizations people who have worked with them and grown with them for 5, 10, 20, and even 30 or more years. So what is it that Shell or Chevron or some of these multinationals do so well to have people like Apple? I learned about someone who worked in Apple for 30-something years. What do they do to keep people working, growing, and providing their best for an organization? we'll be looking at these 7 key hacks. And so about this time tomorrow, I'm going to come up with the first employee retention hack, and stay tuned. My name is Ogbo, Awoke. So there's this hotel in Victoria Island that I often use whenever I have something to do in Lagos. And each time I went to that hotel, I would usually request a room between floor 7 to 9 or maybe 10. I think, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. I think that hotel has up to 22 or 23 floors. So this last time I went there, the receptionist checked me in a room on the 17th floor. I believe it was 1706. And I started protesting. No, give me a room between 7 and 10. She smiled and said, hey, Mr. Ogbo, I think you might like it. Why don't you check it? If you don't like it, I can always change your room. Anyway, I went to room 1706 on 17th floor. And boy, did I like what I saw there. The view was awesome. I literally saw the skyline of all of Victoria Island way into the lagoon. And it was as if I was using that hotel for the first time, because the views I've been having from 7th or 8th floor, I'd never seen them. Now, it was going to be a very, very difficult thing for me on the 17th floor to argue with somebody on the 7th floor about what I was seeing, because we were not seeing the same thing. And it is exactly the same thing with consciousness. You can never operate beyond your level of consciousness. And so when I have worked with clients like MTN, like Flutterwave, like Kutix, like name them, several clients, the objective was always to lift the leaders to a higher level of consciousness so that they can make better decisions, take bigger initiatives, manage the organization better, see their markets from an elevated view that they would never see on the 5th floor. And so I'm inviting you to our annual Leaders Retreat. We hold it every January so that you and your management team can always begin to look at the year from a higher view, from a bigger level of consciousness, to have an understanding of what the year, the next 12 to 18 months is going to look like, and what you need to do as a business to take advantage of all the opportunities in the year, and then to deal with the threats and the risks that you're going to find in your industry. So why don't you chat up my office on 0808 800 1000, and then you will receive the full instruction on how to sign up. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you there on the 14th of January 2023. And until then, until I see you then, keep showing up, for you have no idea what's coming your way next. I'll talk to you real soon.